Now, we've read enough comments under enough videos to know that we're not perfect. So every year or so, we ask our viewers to submit any criticism they have of TLDR, and we respond to it in a video like this one. Ordinarily, I respond on my own, but this time round, given the fact that a whole team of people work on TLDR, I thought it'd be best to let them respond alongside me.
I'm Ben, I'm one of the hosts and the writer of the TLDR News UK content.
I'm Rory, I'm a writer. I also sometimes edit script.
I'm Georgina, I'm a writer.
My name is Nigel Lovadinov and I'm a writer.
I am Zac and I am TLDR's editor-in-chief.
My name is Jana Damic and I'm an animator.
My name is Thomas and I am one of the editors/animators.
I'm Alex and I'm the lead animator and editor at TLDR.
I'm Scarlett and I edit the Daily Briefing and podcasts.
And finally, I'm Jack. I'm TLDR's founder and CEO.
Okay, so there's a lot of criticisms to get through, from advertising and spelling errors to clickbait and our lack of juggling.
A lack of what? As in with balls?
But let's start with a popular one. Why are you all so left-wing?
I think this is a difficult question. I understand why we seem to have this bias.
All of us spend a lot of time reading politics and thinking about politics, and we all have our own opinions. The company is impartial, but I'm not impartial. I'm not non-partisan as an individual. What we're trying to do is suspend our own political beliefs for the duration that we're writing a video and try to look at things more objectively.
And at this point, with the size of team we have, it's not like one person is in charge of each video anyway. There's a writer, but then it's edited and approved, and then it's handed over to an animator who can also feed back, and then it's reviewed again before uploading. It goes through a number of hands. So even if one person does have a specific perspective, that doesn't matter quite as much as it used to.
We definitely have a big range of views within the team, and we have a lot of debates and discussions about how to frame things.
Very rarely do we all agree on something. We all have different takes on something. We all come at things from a different perspective. So, there is an assumption that we're all really left-wing, but that's not the case. We all have our own different opinions, and we try to suspend that while writing videos and when we publish them.
If you want to dive deeper into potential bias, it's discussed every couple of weeks in our podcast, The Editorial, where Zac and Jack sit down to discuss every mistake made in TLDR videos. Anyway, next up, why are there so many spelling errors?
Okay. Okay.
I think the reason why there's some spelling mistakes, not all videos have spelling mistakes, is because of time constraints.
We get the scripts in the mornings and we have to have the videos animated and then edited and uploaded by the end of the day. So that means the space you get to look back and review your work is pretty limited. And
We made a lot of spelling mistakes in the past. I feel like we've corrected that quite a bit.
I do track them and they have actually gone down really quite remarkably, but I appreciate that probably hasn't been felt by the audience yet necessarily. There was a time sort of earlier this year when the error rate was just appalling.
So in order to cut back on these tiny little annoying mistakes that irritate us as much as it irritates the audience, we have our animators watch the videos through themselves, which they always did, but now we have a person who wrote the script watch the video before it even goes out, come back with a couple of notes if there's any errors here and there, and then they get sent back, corrected, and then we re-upload. So
it goes through a few stages now, so hopefully there are fewer mistakes than there used to be.
Why are maps wrong in videos?
When we're talking about map mistakes, I think they often fall into two categories. The kind of basic, regular mistakes, and also difficult borders and boundaries. When I talk about basic mistakes, I'm talking about things like saying Switzerland is in the EU when it obviously isn't. And to try and hedge against this,
We have actually started working on a specific kind of maps animation document where we basically just have tons and tons of maps that are standardized, for example, the EU or the Schengen area or even the Eurozone area.
and the hope is by having this pool of accurate, regularly updated maps, we're able to ensure that we're just copy pasting from there rather than building fresh maps every time, which are obviously more liable to be wrong. The other category I mentioned are the difficult borders and boundaries.
say if you're trying to do the outline of China, they have so many sort of border disputes with various countries. It is difficult. Same with India, Pakistan.
These kind of boundaries are obviously slightly harder to solve for because it depends on the specific video and context as to which border is correct. So in order to solve it,
We're going to try and make it so that the writers who have done all the research for the particular topic are going to tell the animators exactly what line they want. If the map is then wrong, at least it's wrong from a more researched and educated point of view.
Why is a lot of TLDR content only on X?
It isn't. Is it?
What?
Is it?
I don't think any TLDR content's available on X.
As the former social media coordinator who spent a lot of my time doing TLDR, then Twitter stuff, I think I'm qualified to say almost none of our content is available on X. Almost all of our content is available on YouTube.
Why don't you include sources in the description of your videos?
If you've teed this up as a nice little softball so we can all feel a bit smug and say, yes, we do leave sources in.
We do.
We actually do include sources in our description.
We do include sources.
We do.
But I don't want to be mean to the audience. I mean,
We're hopefully going to make this a bit more obvious, but we do try and cite our sources as much as we can because it's very important that you know where we're getting our information from. And
When we're writing, we make sure that any fact or any figures or any numbers are sourced up.
And they get copied and pasted into the description of the video. So if you're unaware of that, if you're watching one of our videos, you can go into the description, show more, and there should be a long list of sources.
It used to be the list of sources was just dumped in the description without really any corresponding information. But as of about a month ago, we've started labeling all of the sources to make it easier for you to find which link is relevant to you. So do make sure that you check out the descriptions because we do put effort into it and hopefully they are useful.
Please stop using the word unprecedented in every single bloody video.
of all the words that people take issue with, have multiple people taken issue with the word unprecedented?
I don't think we do.
These are unprecedented times.
I absolutely agree with this. That one of the animators, it's often the animators, sometimes the narrators as well, the on-screen guys, but often the animators will pick up on certain words that writers come to use and rely on. And there are definitely some that pop up more often than others. And there's a whole bunch of other words which are used too much, or even little phrases like "you get the idea," stuff like that. The 3 reasons. There's a whole bunch of them, and I do try and point them out. Sometimes if I see a word like that, I'll Control F, and I'll see how many times they've mentioned it in the scripts. And if it's too many, I will call them out. So I'll make sure to add unprecedented to the list of words that I'm keeping an eye out for.
I think it's a good word. If it is unprecedented, it's quite good. It's a way of saying something is dramatic without it sort of just saying the word dramatic. That feels a bit more opinionated. If it is literally unprecedented, that's a good way of sort of illustrating that this is a dramatic big thing that you should care about, and there's a reason for it. You know, it's unprecedented.
Stop saying there are 3 reasons to explain literally everything.
Yeah, another TLDR classic.
Little phrases like the 3 reasons. There's a whole bunch of them.
Sometimes there's more than 3 reasons. Sometimes there's 4, 5, 6.
For our 8-minute videos, 3 reasons is just a really nice way to break stuff down.
I think one long monologue at times can be a little bit tricky to follow, and breaking that up by saying, you know, there's this reason, and this reason, I think that's quite clean, quite easy to follow, and I think it makes, you know, our job, which is trying to explain complicated topics in an easy to understand way, I think it's a good way of doing it.
We rarely say that those 3 reasons are exhaustive. It's just the 3 that we've picked out as the most important or relevant. Yeah, I think it's probably something we will continue doing into the future, but hopefully you think it's fair.
Stop saying you get the idea.
This is, a common TLDR refrain.
I never say this. This is a Zacism.
I will make sure not to put that in my script anymore. That's something I kind of learnt from Zac. So
No, you're wrong about that. That's a very useful signpost. That's also one of my sort of like verbal tics that I've developed. It happens in real life as well now. I basically just speak like a TLDR script the whole time.
It's just a nice way of trying to sum up a point and say, look, let's put that to the side, you've got that.
We use it to try and give a script some structure to sort of round off a point, because I think when you're hearing something as opposed to reading it, the structure is not as apparent as it is, you know, when it's literally just an article that you're reading and you can sort of see from where the paragraphs are spaced and where the full stops are, how that thing is supposed to flow. And those sort of quite repetitive and quite blunt signposting words, that's what they're there for. They're there to sort of really push through a structure that might not be immediately apparent to a listener but might be more apparent to a reader.
Zachary should be less assertive in conversations. Zachary?
Zachary. That's just who Zac is.
He should be less assertive, although the word he would use would be bullish.
the man knows what he's talking about, in my opinion.
I'll let him answer that one.
Wow. That feels like quite a direct attack at my personality. I think my wife would agree with you.
It does feel good when you have a common hero there to just kind of humble him down a bit, bring him down.
There are a few questions about advertising and our business, so let's rattle through them. Why are adverts so long?
This is a difficulty about giving free content out online, is that this isn't free to us. You know, these lights, these cameras, I've got to buy food. And when it was just me and Jack doing it, and Zac, and when it was only 2 or 3 of us, the costs were a lot smaller. We've got 8 or 9 full-time employees. We've got an office in London. So part of the way that we pay for this is with sponsors, and sponsors don't give us money out of the kindness of their hearts. They do it because they've got a product they want to sell.
And I mean, luckily, we are able to work with advertisers that we do believe in. They're selling products and services that people in the team genuinely use. But because they're paying us money in order to support the content, they do have certain requirements, understandably. And that does mean sometimes the adverts do need to mention certain things or be certain lengths. Plus, at the end of the day, these adverts are dead at the end of the video anyway. So it shouldn't really matter how long they are, because that doesn't affect all of the content you're watching before that. So if a sponsor wants a 2-minute section at the end of the video, and that's what allows us to pay our bills and allows you to get it for free, that doesn't feel like a huge sacrifice to me, especially as you just don't have to watch it.
Why aren't the adverts more skippable?
When it comes to skippability, I do always think this isn't a major issue for us. It's not like we're putting the ad dead in the middle of the content or right at the beginning, and you have to skip through it to get to the real journalism. Ultimately, we think that'll be bad for our reporting, and that's why we insist that our ads go at the end of the video. As such, there's not really anything to skip through. It's the end. If you don't want to watch, you can stop watching there. Now, in the vanishingly few instances where we do put the advert in the middle of the content, we're going to endeavor to put a bar on screen to indicate how much longer the ad runs for, in order to make it easier to skip through if you want to.
Why are the adverts so repetitive?
Now, this is an interesting thing that people have actually observed, and the reason the ads might seem repetitive is because we sell them in blocks. Essentially, if you watch any 2 TLDR videos in a week, no matter which channel you're watching them on, you will see the exact same advert. That's because our sponsors sponsor all content in a 1-week period across all channels. Now, that might lead to some repetitiveness, but the benefit is that it keeps the sponsors further away from the content. If companies were placing their ads against individual videos, they might then insist that they got more control over what was featured. Whereas if they're sponsoring an entire week in advance, when they don't even know what news stories are going to be in the news cycle, it keeps them at a distance. Now, luckily, all of our sponsors are absolutely fine with this and have been superb to work with and do respect our journalistic principles. But really, it's just a mechanism to protect our content from commercial interests. And while it might lead to some repetitiveness, it does save us time and it does allow us to keep that separation.
I understand that's frustrating. I think everybody at the company understands it's frustrating. We all consume media as well. Like, we're not abstracted from the media landscape. I go home and I watch YouTube myself. Unfortunately, that is part of how the internet works and how free content online works. If you're not paying for content, that content's paid for somehow.
It's not just the adverts, though. Some people also don't love our hosts. Stop being British.
I've spoken to Jack and Ben and Georgina about their Britishness, and it's something that they are really adamant about keeping. So
I'm actually Slovenian, so you can't do anything to me.
I'm half British.
No comment on that.
If anyone wants to provide us with European passports or some kind of powerful passport, we can work with that.
Why do you spend so much time showing your own face on screen?
Well, all of our hosts are very handsome. And it would be a shame not to show them. And I feel like ultimately as well, showing the host on screen can add quite a lot of emphasis, especially if you cut in and push in on their face a little bit.
the other thing is that it is just because generally people like communicating or connecting with a person, and a bit of eye contact and knowing who's behind the voice just makes this a slightly more personal thing.
And also, it's a pacing thing. If you just show wall-to-wall B-roll and animation just over and over and over again, I feel like you might lose concentration a little bit. And if you chop it up a little bit, show the host's face every now and again, personalize it, sort of create that connection between the audience, I feel like that's only a good thing.
Unfortunately, sometimes the audience will just have to look at Jack or Ben or Georgina. And I mean, is there so much to complain about that? I mean, do you really hate Jack or Ben or Georgina so much?
Don't answer that question in the comments.
Yeah, don't answer that question.
Why can't you pronounce anything?
So personal.
I can.
This one is so annoying because we do genuinely try. I think some people think we just read the script once and then leave it there. Now, back in the day, we did just used to try and Google it as we went along and just hope it was right. Now we have a bit more of a process, and we have someone sitting in on every single recording, reading along with the script to make sure that everything is being read correctly, and when there's difficult pronunciations, trying to find those correct pronunciations ahead of time, and then advising the host as they go. Also, very often that person observing is the person who wrote the video, so hopefully during the writing and researching process, they're able to find the pronunciations kind of naturally.
However, Georgina is way better at pronunciations than the other two guys.
She is. Like, what do you want me to say?
Thanks, I'll take it. I love languages, so hopefully I can get that right.
Why are you so monotone and boring?
Oh my God.
I knew I was going to get this.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like this is very quickly becoming a therapy session.
I'm not in real life, I promise you. And I will try and be more energetic and put more intonation and fire and whatever it is that you want. To be fair, I have been doing this less than a year, but I will get to the Ben Jack level.
We'll try and be less monotonous, I guess. Watch the next comment be saying, oh, you present too much like a cartoon character. You need to be more monotonous.
Why do you sound so fake enthusiastic? It's off-putting.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Fantastic.
Everyone is from London. You could do with some more northern/west country staff.
This is the bane of my existence. I don't know who wrote this, but you've absolutely stepped on a landmine here, my friend.
I'm from the north. I understand why I sound like I'm not, because I've been in the south for a while, but I'm a proud northerner.
As the sole operator from the northern office, which is my own home, I would agree. It's not for a biased reason, it's just because people don't appreciate me or my humour.
I'm not southern. I'm from Yorkshire. I was born in Yorkshire. I grew up in Yorkshire. So you can talk about northern representation, but I host more videos than Jack or Georgina, and I'm northern. So I don't know what to tell you.
Georgina's also northern.
Oh, and Georgina's northern as well. Yeah, of course.
You've already got Ben and Georgina on camera.
Ben doesn't count.
It's not just the host either, it's also where they're hosting from. So why is the TLDR studio lit so weirdly?
We fixed it. It's fine. No, I'm joking. We haven't fixed it 100%. We now actually have proper lighting rig above me. We got one of our friends to kind of sort of the lighting rig for us. So hopefully you'll see improvement in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. We are also going to get rid of this mic, and we actually have a mic mounted as well above us. So hopefully we'll get rid of this kind of echoey vibe that you might have felt.
Why don't you have a set anymore? Are you hosting from the void?
We don't have a set anymore because we moved office recently, and we have been slowly rebuilding our studio and getting all the stuff in place. So the space we're in right now is slightly smaller than it was before, but it's far better laid out and organized behind the camera. So behind us, there's nothing going on because that's the easy bit. That's the last bit we can do is we can now we've got everything in place here. We can worry about getting some interesting decorations behind us.
Yes, we are hosting from a void.
Maybe we need some new hosts then. With that in mind, more Shrek, please.
That's something that I will pledge to work on. I don't think I've included any Shrek. I think Jan, our other animator editor, was the first use of Shrek in a TLDR video, and it's been appalling low. On a graph, it's just like 0 and then it goes to 1. So like, we can work on that. We can try and get that graph to head up a little bit better.
How much more Shrek? Because if you want like 200 more %, or like 300, 400.
I agree, more Shrek. I think Shrek 5 is in the works, so I'm all on board for that.
In the works as in within TLDR, we're doing it.
I think DreamWorks is supposed to be making it, but
we could jump on.
We could absolutely help out. I mean, our animation and DreamWorks animation is basically of the same level of quality.
You should really stop killing your podcasts.
This is a fair point. I've been here for a few years, and I can't even count the number of podcasts we've been through. We've had some great moments with trust issues and the big issue.
It's just not really sustainable at lower levels of viewership. When an episode is getting 7, 8, 9, 10,000 views, it's not paying for itself. So the business decision has been to cut it, and then something really important happens, so we need to revive it. But this is just a symptom of the news cycle. I'd love to be able to continue it full time, but to be honest, we have plans for this going forwards.
Yes, we should stop killing our podcasts, but you should watch them more.
Bring back the World Leader Leaderboard.
We are bringing it back. You didn't know this when we put this survey out, so I'm not having a go at you for bringing it up.
We have actually relaunched the World Lead Leaderboard podcast. Well, actually, we've turned it into an entire podcast on its own. It was always the sort of end section of our previous podcasts. I really enjoyed doing it. Viewers really liked it. So we have brought it back as a standalone podcast, which I think should be a really fun way of sort of entering into different global news topics.
Actually, we're fully committing to podcasts from the new year, with episodes following this schedule. Sticking with podcasts, why is there a lack of juggling?
So for anyone who doesn't understand this one, it's because a while ago in an episode of the editorial, we said if we get above 99%,
Like dislike. So no dislike.
we'll do a Q&A.
This is definitely not generally a good strategy for videos to just tell the audience.
How do we up the stakes further?
No, let's not up the stakes further. We'll just do
We'll
a
juggle
Q&A.
throughout.
We'll definitely not juggle. That would be the
juggling.
lowest dislike video of all time.
A juggling Q&A.
No, we're not doing juggling. Why would we do juggling?
If it's above 99.5.
No, can we stop putting risks on it? I just want this to be like a nice thing. I don't have
Okay.
to worry about the dislikes. Can I just fucking say on this? We only said we'd juggle if it was like a high dislike ratio. I don't even think we said we'd juggle. Did we even say we'd juggle?
I said if it was above 99.5.
And it was you.
And they didn't do it.
No, it was the worst dislike ratio of any video we've ever had. It was like 60%. It was really quite tough on the ego actually. And so no, we're not doing any juggling. You dislike the out of my video.
We're never going to juggle.
You never.
And finally, why is TLDR content so clickbaity?
We've talked about this on the editorial, but it is just because it works, unfortunately.
The difficulty sometimes on YouTube is that you're trying to attract an audience and trying to get people to watch a video whilst also being honest about what the content is. All of the titles and all of the thumbnails are trying to strike a balance between those two things.
We can go too far over the line, and we try and avoid that as much as possible, but most of the time I think we do generally stick to that line.
Ultimately, I think when it comes to clickbait, the most important thing to us is that the video actually delivers on what the title and thumbnail says it will. I think even if we are accused of clickbait, it's only really because we overhype how exciting a topic is. It's not because we're not delivering what we say we would. And in news and journalism, I think that's probably the more important part, especially considering that at the end of the day, we do need people to watch our videos. TLDR's key mission is that we reach out to people and we inform people about the world around them. And if we make our videos seem too boring, then no one's going to be interested enough to actually watch, and thus we fail at that core mission. So that's everything for this year. Those are our responses to your criticism. I hope that all makes sense. Ultimately, we're just doing our best with the limited resources and time we have, and hopefully you think we're doing a pretty good job of it. If you do, and you want to lend us a hand and keep our journalism free, then the best way to help us out is by buying a copy of Too Long, our magazine.
For those of you who don't know, Too Long is our periodic physical magazine where we dive deeper into topics and discuss things that wouldn't fly on YouTube.
As such, it contains some of our very best, most detailed and well thought through journalism.
As well as us spending a whole lot of time making it the most beautiful magazine in politics.
In fact, in recent surveys, the vast majority of people who bought the last issue of Too Long said it was better or much better than they'd even expected.
The next issue to be released is our election special.
With sections explaining the context, results and aftermath of elections from the UK, Europe and around the world.
Before asking the question,
Wait, do we care too much about elections?
That's not where it ends though either.
With long reads on Europe's current lack of leadership,
The ongoing wars in Ukraine and Palestine,
plus a breakdown of how good the Biden administration actually was or wasn't.
This is also the ideal way to support TLDR. So if you enjoy our content and want to keep our journalism open and free,
This is a superb way to fund our work throughout the whole year.
if you like the sound of it, you can also subscribe. We're making issues of Too Long every 4 months.
So if you never want to miss an issue, you can subscribe and have it automatically sent to your mailbox or inbox every 4 months.
plus as a thank you, subscribers also get 25% off every copy as long as they are subscribed.
So if you want to support TLDR and get a copy of Too Long containing our very best journalism, then click the link in the description and grab a copy today.
thanks for your support.
And thanks for backing Too Long.